Have you ever woken up and felt like the air is heavier than yesterday? Like grief is sitting on your chest, and even brushing your teeth feels like climbing a hill you never chose. You stare at the door, not because you want to leave, but because you don't know how to move at all. People say time heals, but what exactly are you supposed to do with today? If you're here, you probably know that grief can feel infinite. You can be fine for an hour and then crushed by a wave the next minute. A smell brings them back, a song, an empty chair, and you get this strange thought: if I let myself feel better, am I betraying them? If I smile, if I laugh, if I live, am I leaving them behind? Viktor Frankl knew grief. He lost his parents, his brother, his wife in the camps, and still he didn't preach denial. He didn't pretend strength means not crying. He spoke from the deepest darkness and said something simple and human. Suffering is part of life, but it doesn't need to be the end of life. We are not asked to enjoy pain, we're asked to carry it with meaning. So let's talk about how to breathe when your heart feels broken. Let's talk about the kind of meaning that doesn't erase your loss, but lets you stand up with it, slowly, gently, honestly. Start here. Grief is not a disorder, it's the cost of love. The ache you feel is the proof that you were connected to someone real. Frankl would say, your pain is a testimony. The question is not how to get rid of it, it's how to give it a task. He wrote, those who have a why to live can bear almost any how. In grief, the why won't be happiness. It might be honor. It might be love that continues as service. It might be a promise you make to the future. Frankl taught 3 pathways to meaning: creative, experiential, and attitudinal. Think of them like 3 doors in the dark. You don't need all of them today. One is enough to find the next step. The creative path is about what you give to the world. In grief, that could be a letter you write to the one you lost every day for a week. It could be a recipe they loved, cooked for someone who needs comfort. It could be a scholarship, a small fundraiser, a garden planted in their name. Creating doesn't erase pain, but it gives pain a shape. It says, this hurt will do something good. The experiential path is about what you receive, what you let in. Sit with the sunrise on purpose. Touch something, living: a plant you water, a dog that leans into your hand. Let a song move you, not away from your grief, but through it. The love you felt is not trapped in the past. It can become a lens. When you see beauty now, you can see it for both of you. You can say, this light is ours. And the attitudinal path, this is the hardest. And it's what Frankl became famous for. When you cannot change the situation, you are challenged to change your posture toward it. Attitude is not fake positivity. It's the quiet choice to carry the weight with dignity, even on days when you crawl. It's the decision to treat your pain as a responsibility rather than a punishment. Frankl wrote, suffering ceases to be suffering at the moment it finds a meaning. Not because the pain disappears, but because now it has a purpose. It belongs to a story you're still writing. Ask yourself gently, what task could my grief fulfill? Maybe it's to make the world a little kinder in their honor. Maybe it's to prevent a mistake you both knew too well. Maybe it's to show someone else, who's a few steps behind you, that today is survivable. Meaning doesn't need to be grand. It needs to be true. Right now, your body might be exhausted from waves of sadness, anxiety spikes, sleepless nights. So let's get practical. Frankl used a method called dereflection, turning your attention outward when your mind is stuck on inner pain. You don't force yourself to feel different. You give your mind something worthy to focus on. Today, choose one small task that serves a person or a value you respect, Wash a neighbor's mug. Send a message to check on a friend. Read to a child. Give your brain a rope out of the well. When intense anxiety hits, another Frankl tool can help. Paradoxical intention. If fear of the next wave makes you spiral, sometimes you softly invite it. You tell your body, okay, bring the wave. I will breathe through it. I will not fight you. You break the cycle where fear feeds fear. You change your stance from hunted to willing. Not because it's pleasant, but because it's courageous. Build a simple rhythm for your days. Try this. Schedule 2 short grief appointments where you sit, write, and let yourself feel on purpose, maybe morning and evening. Give the rest of the day small anchors, a 10-minute walk, 1 call to someone kind, a nourishing meal, 1 page of a book. You are not moving on, you are moving with. Structure is a raft. You don't need to swim the ocean today. Just hold the raft and drift one shore closer. And then choose 3 micro-commitments that reflect the person you loved. If they valued generosity, give something small each day. If they loved beauty, take 1 photo of something beautiful and keep a little album in their name. If they stood for truth, speak up once today when you would normally stay silent. This is creative meaning in action. You are letting their values continue through you. There's a question people almost always ask in grief. How do I stop feeling guilty when I begin to live again? Frankl told a story of a widower who could not stop mourning his wife. Frankl didn't say move on. He asked, if you had died first, what would have happened? The man answered, she would have suffered terribly. Frankl said, then your suffering spares her that. The room changed. The pain didn't vanish, but it became love in action. Sometimes your continued life is the protection you can still offer. Sometimes the way you live is the way you say, I would not make you suffer more. Let's talk about that feeling that grief is endless. It's not weak to feel like it will never end. It's honest, but feelings also move like weather. We think we're trapped in winter, and then a small thaw surprises us. On the day you feel no movement, don't try to jump to spring. Just notice one thing that belongs to life. The warmth of a mug, the sound of a stranger's laugh, the smell of rain on concrete. This is experiential meaning, letting small realities remind you that the world still holds you. Now, people will say, time heals. Time alone doesn't heal. What you do with time does. Frankl believed we meet life's questions with our answers by acting responsibly towards something or someone. So here's a simple practice. Pick 1 verb per day. Today I will honor. Tomorrow I will tend. Next day I will learn. Give the day a direction word. Then choose 1 action to match it. Keep it small, keep it doable, keep it human. You will have days when the anger roars. Anger at disease, at fate, at God, at randomness. Frankl never told people to push anger down. He asked them to ask it a question. What do you want me to protect? If anger wants you to protect love, channel it into care. If anger wants you to protect the truth, channel it into honest words. Let anger become a guardian, not a wrecking ball. I want to say this clearly. There is no moral prize for suffering more than you must. If something adds pain without meaning, you are allowed to set it down. You do not owe anyone rituals that shred you. You do not owe endless conversations that leave you numb. Give yourself permission to choose the forms of remembrance that truly honor your bond. Halfway through this, pause. Place your hand over your chest. Feel your heartbeat. Imagine the person you love seeing you now. Would they want you to vanish? Or would they want you to live in a way that carries them forward? You already know the answer. It's written in the love you shared. Here's a story. Mara lost her father. He was a quiet man who fixed things. After the funeral, she stopped sleeping. To A.M. was a loop of I should have called more, I should have visited more. She felt paralyzed. We talked about the 3 paths. She started with the creative. She kept a little notebook titled What Dad Would Fix. Every time she fixed something, Cher faucet, Budger, she wrote it down and added a memory. She called it their second workshop. Experiential. She began walking at dawn because he loved mornings. For 2 weeks, she barely felt anything. Then one morning, a line of sunlight fell across the path the way it did in his old garage. She cried, but not from panic. She felt something like a quiet yes. Attitudinal. When guilt came, she asked, if he were here, what stance would honor him? The answer came, steady and kind. She didn't feel steady every day, but she acted steady for 10 minutes at a time. 2 months later, she wasn't done grieving. She was living while grieving. That's different. That's meaning. Midway check-in. What is one small way you'll honor the person you miss this week? Tell me in the comments so someone else can borrow your idea. And if this brought even a little breath back to your day, subscribe. We make space here for quiet strength and real hope. Let's name a few traps that steal oxygen in grief. First, the numbing trap. Doom scrolling, mindless shows, overworks. Sometimes they are rest, sometimes they're running. You'll know by the aftertaste. If you feel emptier after, it's running. Replace 1 hour of numbing with one small act of meaning. Not heroic, just one true thing. Second, the comparison trap. You see others moving on and feel behind. But grief is not a race. We do not measure love by speed. Frankl's view is personal responsibility. Your task is your task. If you measure by someone else's timeline, you abandon your own assignment. Stay with yours. Third, the must feel better trap. Pressure hardens sorrow into shame. When a wave hits, say, this is a wave, not a verdict. Then pick 1 anchor breath in 4-4. Hold for 2, out for 6. Your body doesn't need a lecture, it needs a rhythm. Fourth, the meaning equals happiness trap. Meaning doesn't always feel good. Sometimes meaning feels like tears on a park bench. Sometimes it feels like writing a check you can barely afford to help someone who needs it more. The promise is not comfort. The promise is worth. What about insomnia, the nights when you feel the future closing in? Frankl would guide you gently to the present. Look around your room and name 5 things you can see. 4 you can touch. 3 you can hear. 2 you can smell. 1 you can taste. Then whisper the person's name you miss and add, I'm still here. I'm still trying. Not because they need to hear it, but because you do. This is experiential grounding married to meaning. You turn a panicked night into a faithful one. There is also a kind of courage in telling the story out loud. Grief wants witnesses. If you can, pick 1 person and tell them 1 chapter. Not the whole book, just 1 scene. This is the last text we sent. This is the day we laughed so hard we couldn't breathe. When you speak that into the world, you protect the reality of the love you lived. That is meaning. That is how memory gains feet. And if you don't have someone yet, write it down. A letter to them. A letter to your future self. A letter to someone who will need this story later. You're not forcing healing, you're creating a bridge. One day, someone will stand where you stand and your words will be their railing. 1 more practice. Choose a symbol you can carry. A color, a stone, a simple bracelet, a small phrase. not to be brave every second, but to remind yourself, I am carrying, not collapsing. When the wave hits in public, touch the symbol, breathe. Remind yourself you have a task. Walk to the bathroom, wash your hands slowly, count 10 breaths, walk back. This is attitudinal freedom in miniature. There's a line from Frankl that helps when you feel powerless. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose. In grief, the space feels tiny, but it exists. Your choice might be only this: I will sit up, I will drink water, I will answer one message. That counts, that matters, because that space is where you are alive. Some days you'll feel like you're not doing this right. There is no right. There is honest, there is kind, and there is forward. On a day of honest, you cry. On a day of kind, you rest. On a day of forward, you make a call you've been avoiding. All three are progress. People will ask, what would the person you lost want for you? It's an easy question to roll your eyes at. But if you sit with it, most answers are simple. They'd want you warm, fed, safe, laughing sometimes, loved always. Let that image be your North Star. If you don't know how to be happy, aim at warm, fed, safe. When you can, add laughing and loved. This isn't lowering the bar, it's rebuilding the floor. And please hear this. You don't have to make a masterpiece out of your pain. You don't have to start a foundation or write a book. Living today with a bit more gentleness, a bit more courage, that's meaning. Smiling at a cashier because your heart remembers what love is, that's meaning. Lighting a candle at dusk and whispering their name into the quiet meaning. If you want a small daily ritual, try this. At night, write 3 sentences. 1 for memory, I remembered you when. 1 for meaning, in your honor I did. 1 for tomorrow, tomorrow I will. It takes 2 minutes. Over a month, you'll see a thread form, not a cure, a thread. Threads hold us, and if faith or philosophy is part of your life, let it hold you. Frankl practiced a kind of humble trust that life asks us for answers even when we have questions of our own. You're allowed to bring your anger and your doubt and your hope to whatever you believe. You're allowed to let a prayer be just a breath and a name. I want to end with a gentle image. Picture a lantern in a storm. It's not the sun. It doesn't chase the clouds away, but it keeps a circle of light around you big enough to see the next few steps. Meaning is that lantern. You don't need to see the whole road. You need a small light you can carry. Your loss is real. Your love is real. And the life you still have, still precious. So today, choose one verb. Honor, tend, learn, protect, offer. Then do one true thing that fits it. When you can't change what happened, you can still choose who you are becoming. One day, you will notice you can breathe a little deeper, not because you forgot, because you remembered in a new way. The love that broke your heart can also be the love that lifts it, one careful day at a time. You don't have to move on, you only have to move with. And when the next wave comes, put your hand on your chest. Feel the pulse, whisper, I'm still here. I'm still trying. That is meaning, that is courage. That is how we carry what cannot be fixed, and still live lives that quietly shine.